Hello, my name is Artdelisideshow, and you're listening to the Artdelisideshow. I'm so glad you're here. Today I'm going to be talking about the SNAP stocking standards that came out from the USDA last week, and this one is targeting retailers. Across America, there are 250,000 retailers who are certified by the USDA to accept SNAP. To become eligible, whether you're like a little bodega in Brooklyn or whether you're a Walmart, you still have to meet certain criteria about the type of food that you stock. So the USDA had this press release last week, and we'll go over it, and I'll try to not interject too much, even though it's going to be really hard because some of this is like absolutely ridiculous. Let's look at the screen. USDA requires SNAP authorized retailers to carry more real food. See, already off the bat. All right, I'm going to chill out. Carry more real food. In the world of GMOs and, okay, I'm not going to start it. Practical changes to retailer stocking standards promote more options, all while reducing fraud and abuse in the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Washington, D.C., May 7th, 2026. Today, the USDA, I'm just going to use acronyms. I'm not going to say all these things over and over again. The USDA published a final rule regarding stocking standards for retailers participating in the SNAP program, ensuring a broad variety of nutritious food is available to SNAP participants at authorized retailers across the country. Since the beginning of the Trump administration, the Food and Nutrition Service has taken action on nearly 3,200 retailers regarding current stocking standards, either for failing to meet them upon application or failing to maintain them once authorized. The latter results in disqualification from accepting SNAP benefits. To turn the tide on our nation's health crisis, we need to ensure our nutrition assistance program emphasizes real food first. And that's exactly what these updates to SNAP retailer requirements will do, said the Secretary of the USDA, Brooke L. Rowland. SNAP authorized retailers accept over $90 billion a year and $236 million a day. In taxpayer dollars. My God. USDA is making sure they're actually in the business of selling food. And for those retailers who are the only food outpost for miles, I know you'll be excited to serve your customers and communities healthy food. I want to, real quick, when she says this $90 billion a year in taxpayer funds, she's kind of priming us to think there's a lot of fraud. There's $90 billion worth of fraud happening in food stamps. That's kind of like the correlation that I think this language and verbiage is trying to make us think. Because in this $90 billion a year of authorized retailers that accept SNAP, that includes things like Walmart, Target, Giant, Kroger's, Albertsons, things like that. But with that, and we'll see some more of her language and some other, in like a tweet that she had, they really are trying to target convenience stores. And I'll get to the stats about why that could be possible, because again, those stats are inconvenient to the convenience stores. But this language is trying to make us think that $90 billion a year is correlated to this type of fraud. And it's not. But I don't know, maybe that's just maybe I'm thinking too much into it. Maybe it's not that deep, but I think it is. This rule puts real food back at the center of SNAP, said U.S. Department of Health and Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy. All right, got to do the voice. I'm sorry.
I thank Secretary Rollins for her leadership in advancing these common sense reforms. It demands more from retailers and delivers better options for the families who depend on this program. This administration is committed to working across government to improve nutrition, strength, accountability, and drive better health outcomes nationwide. This is how we make America great again, healthy again.
Almost passed out. Retailers authorized to accept SNAP benefits must now carry, this is important, listen up, must now carry 7 varieties of items across 4 categories of staple foods. That includes protein, grains, dairy, fruits, and vegetables. This change more than doubles the requirements of available foods, emphasizes more whole foods, increases the perishable food requirements, and eliminate loopholes. It's not a loophole if the government, you created these fucking restrictions and guidelines beforehand, so they weren't loopholes. People weren't taking advantage of it. It was you, government. eliminate loopholes that for too long have allowed retailers to count certain snack foods towards their staple food requirements. That was your requirements, Mr. Government. That was you, USDA. You were the one who said what was allowed and what wasn't allowed. So that's just fucking stupid. These changes will not only ensure vulnerable people in need have more nutritious options wherever they shop, but demand more accountability from retailers who not only have stocked the bare minimum, okay, fair enough, I hear you, but have seen the most program violations, including benefit trafficking and other fraudulent behavior. These updates go into effect fall 2026, and the department plans to issue additional guidance to retailers in the coming weeks. So, what is before I give my 2 cents about this? Sorry, I feel like I'm going to pass out from trying to do the RFK Jr. voice. Before I get into this, the benefit trafficking, you might not be familiar with what that is. That's SNAP trafficking. It's the illegal buying, stealing, selling, or exchange of SNAP benefits for cash, contraband, or non-allowable goods. So like, let's say you go to a little bodega, you want a pack of cigarettes, you do a little whoop-de-whoop, everything go about your merry way. That's illegal. Yeah, I made it sound cute and harmless, but that is illegal, highly illegal. Now, going back to those convenience store SNAP statistics and violations that I wanted to mention, convenience stores, and again, think of your little bodegas, and also includes things like the General store in West Virginia, so not necessarily just urban areas and cities and stuff, but also like very rural areas. I'm sure that if you've ever done a road trip, you see there's like a tiny little town and one store, and that store is where everyone around, goes, shops, unless they are farmers themselves. But farmers need to eat too. I mean, they can't, it's not like farming means you have food all year round. You got to wait till harvest time. Anyways, so convenience stores represent about 44% of SNAP authorized retailers. And this is, these facts are coming from the USDA and also collaborated with the DOJ because they had the numbers. 75% of all trafficking, roughly 3/3 of all retail SNAP trafficking nationwide takes place specifically inside convenience stores. And convenience stores also have a 21% violation rate. More than 1 in 5 authorized convenience stores engage in active benefit trafficking compared to virtually zero among full-service supermarkets. So again, that's like a big supermarkets, whether it's a Walmart, a Giant, I'm not sure, could Costco take SNAP? I'm not sure. If you know that, let me know in the comments. So I can see, the government right now, it strikes me as considering how they started off with Doge and all this stuff, and how they keep toting like different, whether it's like the Somali fraud, or the healthcare fraud that's in Minneapolis that has seemed to be in the Somali community. You see, it doesn't matter how I say it, it's still going to sound fucking bad because fraud is bad. Let me like get that out in the open. It's not good that you're taking advantage of these government programs that are meant for people who need them. And I understand that to get off of SNAP it's really easy. What do I mean by that? If you make a little bit more than let's say you're making a minimal amount of money, and let's say you get a little promotion or something. Let's say you work at a restaurant, you get a little promotion, a little dollar promotion. Yeah, sure, you get a little couple more extra dollars, but that 50-cent promotion, 75-cent promotion, $1 promotion, that could get your benefits reduced. That's insane. So even if you wanted to do a little better for yourself, how can you do that if anytime that you try to do a little better for yourself, you get less help? It doesn't make any sense. I understand the different perspectives around this. I really do. I also understand people are saying, what are you talking about? This is increasing the access to foods, quote unquote, real foods, to folks who live in rural America or in cities or whatever, little bodegas or little General stores or convenience stores. I get that. And also, what about if they can't afford to do that? What about if they can't stock that many options? Well, that means that they're going to not accept SNAP. And what does that mean for the people who live in those areas? Well, one of the things that I think it was either the USDA or some politician was saying is that these people can just get their groceries delivered. Walmart, I think, does have a discount for folks who use SNAP benefits for food delivery. So yes, that is an option. And if now we have like all these giant retailers doing that, that would be awesome. But more specifically, I'm talking about the little convenience stores, and maybe people don't want to eat that extra couple dollars, and it could could go up to like $25, and maybe people don't have money for that, dude. I don't know. There's a lot of different things that I understand all of this. Fraud is bad. Fraud is terrible. But to say that this is to make America healthy again, then why is sugary cereal part of the variety option for that they have to stock? Sugary cereal with so much sugar in it, and it's aimed for kids, and but that's okay. We have GMO foods, okay? Poultry and meat from farms that use more drugs than Jim Morrison ever did in his life, more hormones than a local barista, and yet somehow this food isn't just SNAP food. This is for everyone to consume and eat. And it doesn't pass the sniff test for me. Now, I also want to go over Brooke Rollins' Twitter post here, where she talks about this new law, or this new ruling, and gives us a little bit more details. Let's listen up.
This administration has been laser focused on government programs, right-sizing them, deconstructing them, reconstructing, and making sure that we're really serving the people who truly need them. Clearly, I'm sure most of your viewers have kept up with the SNAP program, the food stamp program, being so far out of whack. The fraud is crazy. We've already moved about 4.5 million people off of food stamps, off of SNAP in just the last year. More to come as the work, we've got more people going to work, etc. But the flip side of that, Dana, is for the 240,000 retailers in America who take the SNAP dollar, what are they stocking on their shelves? So many of our communities get most of their groceries from the corner gas station or the bodega. So what are we doing? So we just announced, instead of only stocking 12 real food staple items, if you're going to accept the taxpayer dollar under the SNAP program, you now have to stock at least 28 of those real foods. We're closing the loopholes. Before, if you had jelly on your shelf, that counted for a fruit. And if you had jerky hanging there, that counted for a protein like a rotisserie chicken, but no more. So we're moving the people off of SNAP that shouldn't be on. We've had 1,000 arrests of people who've been fraudulently taking advantage of the program. We've granted 22 waivers, no more soda, no more junk food in 22 states around America. Hopefully that number is expanding if you're using SNAP dollars. And now the next step is to make sure we've got real nutritious food on the shelves of the stores that are taking the food stamp.
Okay, that was Secretary Rollins of the USDA. I'm gonna then also there's a tweet I'm gonna share it on the screen that went with this post of this video. First off, she said we moved 4.3 million people off of SNAP. That's an interesting verb that she used for moving. You moved? Oh, not kicked off? Okay, interesting. Yeah, if you raise the threshold to be able to receive SNAP, then naturally the people who don't meet that threshold are going to not be part. You're kicking them off. You're not moving them. You may be removing them, but you're not moving them. This is why I don't fuck with lawyers and politicians, dude. And she continues to say that more Americans are returning to work. That's just not true. Also, I think in one of the articles that I did for my the research for this episode, she said something it was just so ridiculous. I even took a screenshot of it. She said that there is that wages are outpacing inflation, which is just not true. That's just a false. You're just a fucking lie. And then the last lie that she had in there is when she said that they approved 22 state waivers to remove soda and junk food from SNAP purchases, and said that now 22 states don't allow junk food and soda to be purchased through SNAP. That's just simply a perversion of the actual reality, which is on her website. Well, not her website, but like on the USDA website. So I don't understand why they're they're pussy dicking around. But the kernel of truth that's in it is that, yes, 22 states have have received the waiver, have applied for the waiver and received it. But not all states have the same regulations around soda and junk food. Different states have different definitions for what junk food is and for what soda is. Some of them say that you can't have beverages over a certain amount of sugar. Some of them say that it can't have a certain amount of I don't know if I don't know about caffeine, but I know for sure the sugar amount is what differs state to state. Same with junk food. Some of them are looking at the main ingredients. Some of them are looking at like the different kind of elements that make up quote unquote what junk food is. And the states have liberties to pick and choose what they want. So to say now you can't in 22 states can't buy. That's not true. You can get different variations of what soda means depending on the government's definition, which is fucking crazy to me, dude. And again, I understand the part you said that they cracked down on fraud, nearly 1,000 arrests. I understand that in order for a program to work, then you can't defraud the program. And my personal opinion, this is a program that in a way like defrauds the potential of people's lives because of the way that it's structured, because of how rigid it is. And like I said, if you make even a tiny bit more, get a tiny raise at your job that barely pays you fuck shit, then all of a sudden your benefits decrease. And that's just not fair. That's not fair for anyone. If a person is trying to do a little bit better for themselves, then that shouldn't be like the impact on their lives. It just doesn't make sense to me. And if people say, well, I was on food stamps and I managed to pull myself up by my bootstrap, way to go. Here's a cookie. I'm not going to fight with you. If you want to fight, go to your mom and go to the army. My personal opinion. I understand that they're trying to get rid of fraud because for this administration, that's their big thing. They started off with Doge and Elon Musk and all these different departments and pretty much like almost violating. I mean, it's up to debate because a lot of this is up in the courts. They're using unscrupulous ways of getting data about residents, about people who are enrolled in these programs and checking in on them. You might say to yourself, that's good because there shouldn't be any fraud in these programs. And maybe you are part of these programs. Maybe you are not. Maybe you previously were. But this is how it starts. The next thing is going to be a different class of people until it hits you. How do I know this? Because history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. And this is the same rhythm that we've seen before. There was welfare queens in the 80s and 90s and to what it is now with whether it's the Somalis or whether it's all the AI-generated agitprop that I saw around Black women in SNAP usage a couple of months ago, which, and just for reference, not that it even fucking matters to me or should matter to you, if we look at the numbers, it's not Black women that are using the most SNAP. Okay, that's all I got to say about that. And at the end of it, you might say, well, where do you stand on this? I don't know. I don't think this is ideal, but the ideal outcome of something like this would be that all of these stores, all these little bodegas, all these little general stores, that they start stocking all this great food and that people are going to get healthier again and that people are going to have more energy again and people are going to be happier again. I hope that that's what would happen, but another side of maybe a more realistic result is less retailers are going to be authorized to accept SNAP. My name is Art Delinsky. I was talking with you about the USDA SNAP requirements around authorized retailers and the kind of food that they have to carry. I hope I'll talk to you soon. If you want to chat, comments, concerns, hit me up on the IG, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!